Cowboy Bebop is a legendary show that if you or anyone you know is a fan of anime has surely heard of. The show's original run only went for 26 episodes, but its long-lasting impact is undeniable. And fun fact, Cowboy Bebop almost never made it to air completely because of its depiction of violence. So originally, the first episodes were aired out of order, then it was promptly cancelled, only to be brought back later on to complete its 26 episode run. Despite its initial problems making it to air, Bebop's unique blend of jazz and space hijinks has proven to be a concept that is not only incredibly fun, but was actually pretty ahead of its time for the genre. Now that the 20th anniversary of the show is here, we can't help but feel like we have a giant Cowboy Bebop-sized hole in our hearts. So, here's 5 anime shows that you need to check out if you loved watching Spike and the gang get into trouble as much as we did. Alright, first off, disclaimer. This list will be in no particular order, and some of the shows recommended will be a bit older, while others will be fairly new. This is not a grand, comprehensive list, so just pick and choose what you think works for you and go with that. Sound good? Okay, let's go. Number 1. Trygun. Trygun shares a lot of similarities with Cowboy Bebop. They even aired around the same time, around 1998, and both ran for 26 episodes. Trygun stars a main character called Vash, who has a $60 billion bounty on his head. When Vash appears, he inadvertently destroys cities around him, hence the bounty on his head. With that kind of money on the line, Vash basically can't go anywhere without someone trying to take him down. While Trygun and Bebop share a lot of similarities on the surface, both are Western themed, both involve outlaws, and both have a good dash of humor thrown in, Trygun takes the cowboy concept and runs with it in a much more literal sense. We're talking actual cowboys and a whole lot of desolate Western style settings. While some have said that Trygun is perhaps not as deep and fulfilling as Cowboy Bebop, there is a ton of fun to be had with this show, focusing primarily on a slick, stylish aesthetic and all-out wild entertainment. Number 2. Samurai Champloo. Now this has some pretty notable connections to Bebop. Most obvious of all, both shows were directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, and in fact many view Champloo and Bebop as spiritual siblings of sorts. While Cowboy Bebop clearly takes place in the future, and Samurai Champloo clearly takes place in the past, the two feel very similar in tone and style. One prime example of this is the music used in both shows. Bebop moves to the pace of a jazz soundtrack, while Champloo pumps along to hip-hop. And while these are two distinctly different styles of music, both serve as unforgettable components to the respective shows. Another example of commonality between the two is the prevalence of fun and comedy weaved throughout each show. While there are some epic moments in both Bebop and Champloo, there's even more moments of levity. Samurai Champloo debuted in 2004 and ended in 2005. It served as yet another character-based show as Bebop did, and focused on Fu, Mugen, and Jin on their hunt to find a mysterious samurai who, quote, smells of sunflowers. This series is definitely geared towards a more mature audience and is peppered with some fairly violent scenes. So just like Bebop, proceed with caution. Number 3. Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon follows the journey of Rakuro, a salaryman who is attacked by pirates while on a ship with important documents in hand. He then discovers that his boss's only concern was to get those documents out of the hands of the competition by sinking the ship that Rock, or Rakuro, was on. Rock is then kidnapped, but his kidnappers seem awful friendly to him. So Rock decides to leave his old life behind and join this band of pirate mercenaries on their adventures through the South China Sea. The big similarity between Cowboy Bebop and Black Lagoon is that they both feature a band of misfit mercenaries. This group, like Bebop, has some goofy members and some pretty badass members as well. So expect a nice blend of humor and excellently choreographed action scenes. As far as the look goes for both of these shows, they both tend to lean on the grittier side of things. But Bebop takes a much slicker approach to that grit, while Black Lagoon leans on the side of a much darker, grittier aesthetic. Like the two previous shows just mentioned on this list, there can be some fairly violent scenes, so be aware, or just what the hell, go for it, it's a great show. Number 4. Space Dandy. Now this is a fun one. You can think of this as a version of Cowboy Bebop that focuses primarily on fun action and comedy, and tends to leave that feeling of grit and violence behind. Space Dandy is set in the distant future, and stars Dandy, the space hunter, whose job it is to search for undiscovered alien species. He of course is not alone on this journey. He's accompanied by QT, an old robot, and Meow, an alien that looks like a cute cat. Together, they have to try and locate alien species faster than the competition, while also outrunning the Gogol Empire. This show ran for 13 episodes back in 2014, and serves possibly as the weirdest recommendation on our list. Its animation style is slick and in your face, and it features all types of crazy aliens, giant robots, and an incredibly colorful palette. Number 5, Darker Than Black. Darker Than Black stands out as the most serious show on our list. Not a whole lot of jokes to be had here, but the amazing action sequences and dark, overbearing color palette more than makes up for the lack of humor. In the show, a giant wall shields Tokyo from an otherworld called Hell's Gate. As this is happening, there are certain killer contractors, people who have gained superhuman powers, terrifying the population. Kirihara Mizaki and her team from the Foreign Affairs Section 4 of the Public Security Bureau are tasked to keep these contractors under control. At the same time, a mysterious masked person appears and seems to be able to defeat these rogue contractors single-handedly. This individual is then given the name Messier Code BK201. Okay, as you can tell from that synopsis, there is a lot going on in Darker Than Black, and the show can get pretty heavy at times. But where it shares similarities with Cowboy Bebop is with the main character. Both feature a character that is an introverted gun for hire, who works with a crew of fairly prickly personalities. Both are set in the future, and both are character-based shows that focus on the human side of the sci-fi genre. And hey, that's it. Now this is only a small slice of the Cowboy Bebop-like anime out there, so be sure to let us know if you have any more recommendations. Did I hear someone say Lupin the Third? Lupin the Third. See? Yeah, I knew it. And as always, be sure to check back at FANDOM for more.